Part 1. Clementine stormed back to Khaziit's hideout, the secret shrine under Irantel's graveyard. Her strides were wild and forceful, her brows were furrowed, and her mouth was twisted. Her pretty features were distorted into something which could only have been described with the word ugly. That said, her true nature was probably more grotesque than that face. Khaziit muttered to himself as he guided a newly created zombie over to the undead storage area. Oh, a new zombie? That's over 150 now. The Orb of Death is quite extraordinary. The number of undead that could be controlled by the third-tier spell Create Undead was limited by the power of the spell's caster. The more undead one made, the fewer one could control. Still, zombies were among the lowest grade of undead. Someone like Khaziit, who was specialized in controlling the undead, could maintain his hold over the unbelievable amount of over 100 of them at once. The reason Khaziit could control more than even that number was due to the power of the item he carried, the Orb of Death. It's all because you've been fooling around so much. Sorry, there was not even the slightest hint of remorse on Clementine's face as she apologized. Still, it's their fault for dying so soon. Couldn't they hold on a little longer? When you bash them like that, it's no wonder they'd die. Adventurers wouldn't die so easily. They weren't adventurers, just ordinary civilians. Clementine, do you like spouting obvious things to waste time? Eusiaces, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Please forgive me. Khaziit clicked his tongue. As if I could believe that. In any case, stop going after people. Okay, her flighty response made Khaziit furrow his brows. Still, there was no point going on about it, so he decided not to continue lecturing her. He tried to express his displeasure with the wrinkles of his frown, but as expected, she ignored it. But I'm so bud. Speaking of which, where is he anyway? Has he not returned yet? Not yet. I missed him, since it's hard to get a hold of him. What about grabbing that granny instead? Stop that. That old woman is a third-tier magic caster, and a famous person in this city, so don't look down on her. If you move carelessly against her, you might find yourself in too deep to dig yourself out. But Khaziit reached into his robes and withdrew a jet-black gemstone. Clementine, I've spent several years preparing to turn this place into a city of the dead. I don't want your pointless antics to set my plans back. If you continue making trouble, I'll kill you. It's called the death spiral, right? Indeed. It's the rite our leader is conducting. In places where the undead gathered, more powerful undead were born. When these more powerful undead gathered, even more powerful undead would appear. The magic rite which made use of this property was like a spiral, constantly spawning ever more powerful undead beings. It was potent enough to destroy an entire city, so it was known as the death spiral. This wicked ritual had been conducted in the past, and it had turned a metropolis into a city of the dead where the undead roamed free. Khaziit's aim was to turn Irantel into another such dead city. He would turn himself into an undead being by harnessing the necromantic energies from such a place. He had made extensive preparations to achieve his aim. He would not let this woman who had showed up just a few days ago ruin his plans. Got it? Khaziit saw through Clementine's adorably puffed-up cheeks. Her expression was one of cruel malice. In that moment, Clementine surged forward like a killing storm. She closed the distance between them in an instant, and struck like lightning. The sharp blade in her hand gleamed lethally as it flashed toward Khaziit's throat. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. The small blade Clementine thrust forth was a piercing weapon known as a stiletto. There was little variation in the ways one could attack with a piercing weapon, so they were not easy to use. However, Clementine favored such weapons, and she had trained her body ceaselessly, selected the best equipment, and learned the right martial arts, all in order to kill in a single blow. This technique of hers, honed and refined through countless battles with humans and monsters, was on a level where no normal person could defend against it. Clementine was naturally gifted with physical abilities, which exceeded those of normal human beings. On top of that, she had spent her life training and practicing her combat skills, so it was only natural that she should be able to fight at such a level. However, her target was not a normal person. Khaziit, one of the 12 high disciples who were the pride of Zuranon, could not be killed so easily. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. And a white wall-like object which erupted from the ground and intercepted the unavoidable, razor-sharp blade. It was a gigantic hand made of countless human bones, covered in hooks which called to mind the image of maggots. The hooks writhed, and the earth around them shattered. Under Khaziit's mental control, a giant creature began revealing itself. She could sense a powerful undead creature beneath Khaziit's feet. The smug Khaziit turned toward Clementine and said, "What a waste of time. Because of you, I was distracted for a moment and lost control of the other undead. Sorry about that, but I wasn't going all out either. You had to pull out all the stops to barely block it, right?" "That's nonsense and you know it, Clementine. You're not the sort to hold back. You saw through me if you hadn't blocked it, your shoulder would have been stabbed through. But, I never intended to kill you." Really? Khaziit frowned again, as he saw the hateful smile on the woman before him. "Still, if it was me, I could beat that chap. Maybe magic casters couldn't win, but as a warrior, I could defeat it handily. I'm just not too used to bludgeoning-type weapons. Your specialization in one-hit kills might make you strong against the living, but what will you do against the undead which lack biological processes? And do you really think that chap is the last card I have to play?" That's also true." Clementine glanced toward the entrance. She seemed to have noticed the undead controlled by Khaziit, who were waiting there for his orders. "I think I could win, but if I draw out the fight I'll probably lose. Sorry, Katsi-chan." Clementine returned her stilettos under her cloak, and the rumbling from the earth ceased. "Buit, that's a specialized undead controller for you, well done." With that, Clementine turned and left. Yes, I won't touch that granny until the end. I won't go hunting people either. That should be okay, right? Khaziit did not release the power he was holding until Clementine left. He continued holding on to it even after her shadow was gone from his underground shrine. What a bad personality, Khaziit spat. He had his own flaws, but he was not nearly as bad as Clementine. Even though she's so skilled, no, it's because she's so skilled that she's so twisted. Clementine was strong, and even among the 12 executives of the secret society Zuranon, only 3 of them could beat her. Sadly, Khaziit was not one of them. Even with the magic item in his hand, he only had around a 30% chance of success. The former 9th seed of the Black Scripture, deranged individuals with the power of heroes are hard to deal with. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit, so that's what happened. Nfiria sighed deeply, and mumbled to himself. Nfiria had been close to Enri's parents. They were great parents, and the way they loved their daughters was quite enviable. Nfiria had lost his parents at a young age, and only had murky impressions of them. Therefore, when he thought of an outstanding father and mother, Nfiria immediately thought of Enri's parents. He was filled with rage when he heard that her parents had been killed by the Imperial Knight impostors, and all he could think when he learned that they had been slaughtered in turn was serves them right. He was also somewhat angry at the higher UPS in Irantal, who refused to send soldiers over. However, he felt something was wrong about him displaying this anger, when Enri, for whom that anger was far more justified, had set those feelings aside. He looked at Enri, her eyes brimming with tears. As he wondered whether he should try to comfort her, Enri wiped her tears away, and smiled, "I still have a little sister. I can't lose myself in sadness forever." Nfiria was halfway off his chair, and now he sat down again. Having lost the chance to console her, he felt like he had wasted an opportunity, and was ashamed of his own uselessness. Even so, his desire to protect her had not changed. After a brief pause, Nfiria made up his mind. He would not let anyone other than himself sit beside Enri, even if that person was a powerful being who could protect her. He felt a little anxious, but while he was riding on this surge of emotion, Nfiria decided that he would share the feelings he had had ever since he came to this village for the first time as a child. Then, his throat seemed to have clamped shut. "Come on, say it." Although he desperately wanted to speak, the words stuck in his throat, and refused to leave. Both Enri and Nfiria were at an age where it would not be unusual for them to be married. In addition, due to his income as a herbalist, Nfiria had enough money to support Henry and her little sister. I could probably provide for a child too. The image of the family he wanted to make appeared in his mind, but he immediately waved away his runaway imagination. The knowledge that Henry was looking at him in surprise made him even more nervous. His mouth opened and then closed. I like you. I love you. But the words refused to leave his lips, because he was afraid of hearing her reject him. Then, what else could he say to shorten the distance between them? The city's safer, do you want to live with me? I'll take care of you and your little sister. If you want to work, you can help in Granny's shop. If you feel uneasy about the city, I'll do my best to help you. He should say that. The chances of those words being rejected would be a lot lower than a confession of love. Henry. What happened, Nfiria? Henry jumped as Nfiria loudly called her name. He began to speak. If you've got any problems, let me know. I'll do whatever I can to help you. Thank you. You're such a good friend that it's almost wasted on me, Nfiria. It's fine, we've known each other for so long, after all. Nfiria was unable to say anything else in the face of Henry's beaming smile. He cursed himself for his uselessness, but at the same time he fondly reflected on how cute Henry was, and of the times he had spent talking with her. Just as it seemed the matter was at an end, Nfiria asked a question. Come to think of it, what's up with those goblins? Those goblins called Henry their Ain-san. In addition, those goblins differed greatly from the ones they had encountered on the road to Karn. They had the air of veteran warriors. It was even more surprising to see a magic caster in the village. When and where had these goblins encountered a simple village girl like Henry, and what sort of relationship did she have with them? Henry simply replied, they appeared after I used a magic item given to us by our village's savior, Ainslgown. They follow my orders. I see. Henry's eyes were like twin sparkling stars as she said that name. It made Nfiria feel bitter inside. Ainslgown. Henry had already mentioned this name several times since they started talking. When Karn village was attacked by mysterious men dressed as imperial knights, a magic caster, who was passing by, saved the village with his tremendous might, returning peace to the village. He was Henry's savior, and someone that Nfiria should thank. However, the look on Henry's face made it difficult for him to thank him in earnest. He could understand how Henry felt when she mentioned her messiah, but at the same time, jealousy welled up at the bottom of his heart. He was filled with his one-sided love for Henry, and by his competitive spirit as a man. Influenced by these emotions, his emotions turned ugly. Nfiria thrust these feelings aside, and turned his thoughts to the magic item of which Henry had spoken. It was a magic item which summoned goblins, called the Horn of the Goblin whatever. The magic caster who had saved her village had explained what sort of horn it was, but because her mind was too confused back then, her memory was hazy. Nfiria felt it was a little strange. He had no idea what sort of magic item it was, but she should not have forgotten about it. Nobody should have forgotten the details of a magic item with special abilities once they were told about them. Still, there were many magic items which could summon creatures, just as there were many summoning spells in magic. Any monsters summoned with those spells would vanish after a while. Summoned monsters were not creatures which could persist for a long time. If that item could do that, it might well overturn all of magical history and theory to date. How valuable was a magic item which could accomplish such a feat? Henry did not seem to have realized its value, but if she sold it, she could probably live comfortably for the rest of her life. Henry had used this rare and precious item because she did not want blood to flow in the village once more. Nfiria felt that this line of thinking was very much her style. Thus, the goblins she had summoned called her Ain-san, followed her orders, and in addition to protecting the village they even helped in the fields. Apparently, they were even teaching the villagers how to use bows, and how to defend themselves. As a result, the village had gained several odd new residents. Part of the reason why the village could accept the goblins was because the knights who had attacked the villagers had been human beings like them. This had made them distrust human beings, and thus they could more easily accept the goblins' help. Another big reason was because the one who bestowed this item on them was the magic caster that had saved the village. So he was called Ainslgown? What sort of man is he like? I'd like to thank him myself. Nympharia knew nothing about the name Ainslgown. Besides, Henry had not seen his face under his mask, so she had no idea who he was either. Still, anyone who could casually give away precious items like those horns had to be someone important. If she had seen his face, she would not have forgotten it easily. After he told her that line of reasoning, a look of disappointment appeared on her face. Is that so? I was thinking you would know him, Nympharia. Henry's reply made Nympharia's heart pound violently, and sweat drops bloomed uncomfortably on his back. Looks aside, he'd be a hit just going by his strength alone. The words from last night appeared in Nympharia's mind, and he began to pant and breathe heavily. Forcing down the uneasiness in his heart, Nympharia asked, Henry, what will you do when you see that gown fellow? I'd like to thank him properly. The village came together with the idea of building a little copper statue for him, because he saved us, and I need to show my gratitude too. After sensing that the answer did not contain any hints of affection which frightened him, Nympharia breathed a sigh of relief, and let his tensed shoulders relax. Is that so? Who? Yes, of course you need to thank him. If you noticed any special features, or if he reminded you of someone, maybe it would narrow down the field, right? Do you know what sort of magic he used? Magic, huh? It was really amazing. There was a flash of lightning, and the night went down in one hit. Lightning, huh? Did you hear him say lightning, or something? Henry's eyes looked to the sky, and then she nodded deeply. I think I heard him say that. Although it seemed like there was more to it than that. After hearing Henry trail off into mumbling, Nympharia concluded that this gown fellow must have said something before casting his spell. If that's the case, it should be magic of the third tier. Magic of the third tier, is that very amazing? Of course it is. I can only use second tier magic myself. Third tier of the magic is the limit for normal people. Only talent holders can use magic beyond that. I knew it. Gown-san is really amazing. Henry respectfully nodded. However, Nympharia did not think the magic caster called Ains was limited to third-tier spells. Given that he was a person who could nonchalantly give away those magic items, he might be able to use fifth-tier spells, which were the domain of heroes. Why would such a great person come to a village like this? A confused Nympharia tilted his head to the side, but then Henry dropped a bombshell which immediately blew all his doubts away. In addition, he gave me a red potion too. Nympharia recalled part of a conversation from earlier. Diamond suit then. What if I paid you, and you told me more about the person who gave you that potion? The warrior named Britta did not seem happy about that request, and why do you want to know? Of course it's to find clues to lead me to that mysterious man in full plate armor. If we get in his good graces, he might tell us where he got those potions from, right? He might let something slip by accident, so if he's an adventurer, I want to hire him for a job. How about it, Nympharia? Diamond suit, that was the reason Nympharia had asked for Mammon by name. Nympharia's plan was to winkle out information about the potion, by deepening his friendship with Mammon. In addition, if they went to pick herbs in the forest together, Mammon might accidentally reveal something. Nympharia tried to hide the excitement in his heart, and in the same calm voice from before he asked Henry, what kind of potion was it like? You know I'm a herbalist, of course I'd be interested in potions. That's right. Making these things is your job. Henry told Nympharia everything she knew about the magic caster, and the potion he had given her. She mentioned the name Ainslgown's wondrous deeds several times during her account. The Nympharia from just now might have been filled with jealousy, but at the moment, his mind was pondering other matters. He put all this information together, and after peeling back several layers of mystery, the hidden truth was revealed. It was very likely that the potion which had appeared in Irantal, and which Henry had drunk were one and the same. It was also apparent that a pair of adventurers had appeared in both those places, a magic caster, and a warrior in black full plate. There could only be one answer, yet there were two people who could be candidates for being Ains Ulgaun. From what Henry had said, he could conclude that Ains was a man, but he decided to ask again just to be sure. Could that Ains Ulgaun person be a woman? I don't think so. I didn't see his face, but his voice was a man's. By itself, this was not proof that Ains was a male. After all, there were spells and magic items which could change voices. It seemed strange to think that Nabe equals Ains Ulgaun. The merciless and occasionally naive Nabe seemed completely different from the wise, benign, and righteous Ains. It was clearly too much of a stretch to think of her as Ains. The person in the black full-plate armor was called Albedo, I think. Is that so? He remembered the name from when Nabe had said it. The answer was clear. Ains Ulgaun equals Mammon. From that, he could draw a startling revelation. The magic caster who had saved the village was also a fearsome warrior. Although there were some warriors with magical training, for the most part, one would cancel out the good points of the other. In a similar vein, arcane magic casters could not cast spells while wearing the heavy equipment, which most warriors favored. So he was a magic caster of the third tier, as well as a swordsman on par with an adamantite-ranked adventurer. This must be some kind of joke. If someone like that truly existed, he would be a hero among heroes. Still, why had he asked so many questions on the road? The most logical answer was that he was a magic caster who had learned his art in another country, and was not sure about this one. That being the case, it made sense that he would possess potions from another land, whose means of manufacture was completely unknown. After learning this piece of priceless information, his breathing became irregular, and he could not calm himself down even though he knew Henry was staring at him. His heart was filled with complex emotions. Ains had saved Henry and given away potions. In comparison, Nfiria was a miserable little man, who tried to get into Mammon's good graces, in order to learn how he made those potions, and knowing this shamed him. It was only natural that Henry would fall for someone like Mammon.